No, I'm interested, yeah. But if it doesn't come out this year, I can't wait any longer. Uncharted 4 and the Last Guardian. The Last Guardian? That's what it's
Yeah, yeah.
called, right?
Yeah, last guy.
Yeah.
I'm losing my
It's been
mind.
so long you've forgotten the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Lost Guardian.
Been on us for a long time.
I bet that's an article title somewhere, The Lost Guardian. What's up, guys, and welcome to the 5th episode of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by Sifted.net subscribers, where we invite community guests onto the show to talk about the games industry and all its crazy shenanigans. I am your host, Vin Hill, and joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski.
Hey, guys.
And joining us as well is, of course, our community guest all the way from the UK is Blake.
Hey guys, you alright?
So, this week, we don't actually have that many corrections. We just wanted to say a big sorry because we weren't around that much last week because Evan was unfortunately out of the country. Like, where did you go again, man? Hong Kong, was it?
Yeah, I went to Hong Kong for 4 days.
Cool. How was that? Was it fun?
Great, yeah. Out of a couple of the countries in Southeast Asia that I've been to, I'd say I like Hong Kong the best. It has a good balance between, like Southeast Asia and the West, and new and old, and a bit more people from lots of different countries, more so than like Taiwan or Korea or Malaysia.
Yeah, it's one place I've never actually been to. I've always wanted to go over there, but it always seems stupid. I mean, I live in Japan and like everything's so close. I've just never like got on the flight and done it all. It's ridiculous. I need to get around to it.
Right? Yeah, I would say. Oh, sorry. Well, I would say out of like Malaysia, Taiwan, Korea, some of those countries, I would say if you want to go anywhere, go to Hong Kong. Really cool place.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I really liked Hong Kong when I went as well. Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, okay, cool.
Cool. So, yeah, we apologize for the absence last week. We are definitely back on track now. So, we had a couple of people on the forum saying, "Hey, where are you guys? Where did you go?" Like, we're still live. We're good. We're gravy. It's all good. So, anyway, let's move on to our question for our guest of the week. So, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
So, the question is, you're stuck on a desert island. You can take one game with you along with the corresponding console, and the palm trees have internet, so you're all good. What game do you choose and why?
I would choose, well, for me, it's got to be a multiplayer game because it's got to have that replayability. Like, I don't really replay games that much, like the single player campaigns. I don't really replay games, so for me, it's got to be a multiplayer game. So I would narrow it down to either GTA 5 or Rainbow Six Siege. And
playing a lot of Siege.
Yeah, I really like Rainbow Six Siege, so yeah, I'd have to go with Siege, I think.
Oh,
I really like that game. Yeah, I really like it. I think it's one of the best multiplayer games I've played in years. So yeah, I'd have to select that.
Are you still playing GTA Online?
No, not really. No. I never.
It'd be a good one to replay though.
Yeah. I've never actually. I played a few hours of it when they had all the server problems at launch back in the PS3 360 days, but yeah, I only played about 5 hours of that, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's not Siege, but for the replayability, like that's why I shortlisted it, because I think it would have endless replay value. But I think Siege just wins for me for the gameplay.
Yeah, it's like Siege for me was really refreshing because I've been playing so many FPSs recently. I'm a huge FPS guy as well. But there's so many games which is just like based on Twitch shooting now. Like it's really quick, like snapping. So these kids like hopped up on Red Bull. And
exactly.
It's like you ask your kid, like, "Hey, little kid, like, what's a flank?" And they're like, "What flank? What's that?" And it's like, for fuck's sake, this is why we're losing every game. But Siege is really refreshing in that respect because it just strips away all that. It's just
exactly
okay. It's pure tactics now. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that game. I love the crap out of it. We should move on anyway and talk about what games we've been playing this week. So we'll start off with Evan this week. What have you been playing, man?
Well, I've fortunately, I don't know. I've been playing
Unfortunately.
Miitomo for the last week. It went
Of course.
live in Japan and thought I'd give it a
Nice.
shot. One of the
All right,
interests.
spill the beans. How is it?
I'm kind of already bored with it.
Oh wow.
It's very
Uh-oh.
very surface level, and I think what it is they put minimal amount of money into their first game, and they just wanted to throw it out there and see what what everyone said about it. Basically, if you've ever played Tomodachi Life, it's kind of like that mixed with social media, but it's insanely surface level. So you make a me, which is can be linked to your Nintendo ID, and you just get plopped in a room. You don't get to change anything about the room. You don't get to buy anything. It's just the room you're in. But basically, what the game is you ask you're asked questions about yourself, and
Right.
this could range from uh, are you completely addicted to any TV shows right now? If so, what? What are you most interested in lately? What would you do if you and your best friend had a crush on the same person? Uh, would you rather
What?
live in the city or a
What the
country?
hell?
No, some of these questions are like, and it got to the point so where it was asking me such strange questions, like I felt really uncomfortable about answering them truthfully. So I just started like making things up. I'm like, it's like they're collecting information on me.
Yeah, that's
It's
really
like,
creepy, man.
Yeah, it sounds like eHarmony or something.
yeah, no, really, really. And yeah, you answer a bunch of questions and you get like points or coins for it. And what those coins do is allow you to buy outfits for your me, and you get bonuses for checking in daily, or if there's like server problems or something like that, and they're like, okay, sorry, it wasn't working for the last couple days. Here's 100 coins or whatever. And in the beginning, they throw tons of coins at you, but then a week later, it's like you don't really get any coins. But that's it. They ask you questions, and then all of this information is compiled, and then um, once you make friends, like through Facebook, Twitter, or face to face, they'll come over to your house, and you'll start talking, and they'll tell you about them, and then you can,
Oh, that is weird.
or they can
That
ask
is
you
weird.
questions. Yeah, they can ask you general questions, or just between you and them. So, like, if you and I wanted to go on vacation, where would we go? And then under each answer for a question, like your friends can look at all the questions you've answered, and you can comment on it. And so when you pull up that window, it says like the question, your answer, and then your friends can comment on it, much like any social media. But your me is next to your comment with like a little word bubble. And if you say certain things, um, oh, and this is totally voiced, like Vocaloid.
What?
What the
That's
hell?
so weird.
And
That's
the weird
crazy.
thing is, the Japanese Miitomo app is it completely in Japanese or in English. Like the settings, everything is in English. So it's this weird Vocaloid, and you can kind of like change the pitch of your voice and stuff. The weird thing is, I am playing in English, and my wife's playing in Japanese, but on hers, everything's in Japanese. So when I come over to her Tomo house, or whatever the hell you want to call it,
Yeah.
my Vocaloid speaks in English. But when she comes to my house, her Japanese answers to her questions just go a.
Oh, that is weird.
So yeah, they haven't figured that out. And then you can play this weird like pachinko game to get clothing. So you'll drop your me, and he'll kind of bounce around this little thing. And if you land on a certain section, you'll get like a T-shirt or pants. There's daily clothing that's only available for the day. So if you want to buy it, you got to buy it then. But basically, that's it.
Right.
You buy clothing. You answer a bunch of questions, and then you get to hear the answers to your friends' questions. That's it.
I think the big question which I really have is like, is the game fun? Like, regardless of like how long it is or whatever.
Um, no, I mean, I am
Right.
I'm not a big Facebook guy. I'm kind of on Twitter sometimes, but that's just to see what people I'm following are saying. I'm not much of a commenter, but no, it's not fun to me. Like I'm already done with it, and I think my wife is as well. It's only been a week.
Yeah,
Jesus,
it
that's
sounds
pretty
quite
bad.
bare bones from what you
It
just said.
really is,
Yeah,
and yeah. So yeah, I've been playing Miitomo, and I'm almost done playing Miitomo.
Yeah, I honestly think like the whole thing is just to like pull everyone into the sort of the Nintendo mobile sort of ecosystem, gearing up for the future.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
exactly.
So good.
Yeah, I agree.
But how about you, Blake? What have you been playing this week?
Um, since the 8th of March, I've only been playing one game, and that's the Division. I've been playing it a ridiculous amount, probably about an average 5 hours a day since
Oh,
it
Jesus,
released. Yes, probably
you're
about.
well in.
I'm probably about 63 hours into it now. Level 30. I've done all the missions, and I'm well into the end game bit. The grind
Yeah,
to get better weapons. To get
yeah,
the
I've been playing it as well.
high
I mean,
ends.
I hit level 30, but then because I was playing the game like completely single player by myself, the second that you hit level 30, like the end game content is pretty much all multiplayer.
Okay. Is it? Do you mean the Dark Zone?
Yeah, the Dark Zone, just like the daily missions are pretty much
Dailies,
impossible
yeah.
by yourself.
Oh, okay, you got dailies.
Yeah, the
Mm,
raids are coming out like within the next few weeks or something. I can't remember. I'm not
yeah,
like on track with it. But
yeah. I
all of
can't
it
wait.
is multiplayer. So it's like once you hit the end of the game as single player, which takes a long time, don't get me wrong, you get
It
your money's
does,
worth in
yeah.
that
You
respect.
get it definitely, yeah. I agree.
How's the end game loot?
I mean, it's been all right, but I mean, you do the there's one challenging mission, which is like harder than hard difficulty, and a day, and then there's two hard daily missions, and the challenging mission gives you a guaranteed high end drop at the end if you manage to finish it. But challenging is pretty ridiculous. Like the difficulty is well, it's
Yeah, like
too
even
much
even the
really for me.
dailies for me were like really hard. I mean, I went through with a friend of mine from work because we play at lunchtime, and we went through one daily, and it took us like a good half an hour. But Jesus Christ, they are difficult. It's like it really kicks you up the arse. You sort of feel like okay, this is where the game sort of begins. Like everything up until that point is like sort of training, and like some missions you go into, it's like I just do not have good enough weapons for this, even though I'm max
Yeah,
level, and it's crazy. But it's fun in that respect. I'm enjoying it.
it is mad. I mean, the because I think I'm quite high DPS on it now. I'm like 125,000 DPS on it. So the hard missions now for me, the hard dailies are quite easy, really. And I've
Yeah,
been
yeah. I need to put more
playing.
time into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing through the whole game with two friends from a forum that I go on, and
Oh, perfect.
yeah, from pretty much from day one. So we've all been through it together. So I play all the dailies and everything with them. So it's good in that respect. But yeah, the challenging ones are still really difficult. I've only managed to do
Yeah.
one, and that was when we were paired.
Well, they've got a lot of stuff coming as well. I mean, the raids are coming out pretty soon. They've got other like updates coming as well, like for new like free content. I'm pretty sure. Like I can't remember. I haven't watched that year one content thing in a while, but yeah, they've got a few things.
Vin, is that what you've been playing as well?
No, I haven't actually. Like because like as soon as I hit level 30 on the division, like a week and a half ago or something, I pretty much realized like I can't play this by myself, and a lot of my friends aren't online at the same time as I am because we live in Japan. So I actually, ironically, moved off onto Destiny again.
Okay.
Scratching that
so,
that
so
loot
yeah,
itch.
right. And like it's weird because apparently, like the Destiny service just basically completely emptied out the second that the division came out, and it's
Really?
really evident. Like there's very few people running around. The only people that I've run around at all level 40 is like everyone's the highest level in the game. I'm just running around like trying to grind like a little idiot, and everyone else is, oh my god, look at this guy, he's like 23 or something. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, because I bought the Taken King because I never played that DLC,
Yeah.
but I thought I'd give that a crack. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like that game, I haven't played it in about a year, and it's really fucking polished now. It's really nice little game. A lot of people, I think a lot of people like played it when it first came out and was a bit, I'm not. Yeah, it's got a lot of problems and stuff, and they sort of just abandoned it before the Taken King came out. But the Taken King fixed a hell of a lot of stuff. So if anyone's like got the season pass or they're interested in the Taken King, I'll definitely tell them to jump in. It's a really cool little expansion, and it feels a lot more fleshed out as well, like as a story as well.
That seems like the consensus, definitely, from what I've heard.
Yeah, it's weird, just like how much character building and how much like lore you get from the first like 30 seconds of being in the Taken King compared to the vanilla game is just astronomical. It's night and day. It's like, oh my god, like I know what this character is now, even though they've been stood around for the last like 40 hours that I played this game last time I played it. And yeah, it just does a great job. It definitely feels like a new writer came in or something, It's
that's
night
good.
and day. But anyway, yeah, let's move on. We're going to move on into the small three, which is flagship topic area, where we basically each pick a subject and we're all going to talk about it. It can be anything from the games industry, from a game that we like, a piece of news that's come around, a game that we hate, a game that we're excited about. It can be absolutely anything that we want. So, traditional style, we're going to start off with our guest, which is Blake this week, and we're going to ask you, what is your topic of the week?
My topic is VR the future of games? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm interested in VR. I think it's very interesting. I think 2016 is pretty much like the year of VR to really, well, hopefully, uh, come into the mainstream consciousness or whatever, and succeed. And yeah, I think it's the first real it could be the first real shift in games since from going from 2D to 3D. I feel that
Yeah.
the first time developers maybe challenged slightly for a long time, and I think that's very interesting.
How do you feel about that, man? Are you going to buy a headset this year, Blake?
Yeah, well, I've got the Rift pre-ordered.
Okay.
Pre-ordered that about 3 or 4 days after the pre-orders came out, because I saw the price point in the UK and it was not that great. So I thought, well, I'm not going to bother. But then I changed my mind, so I I pre-ordered one, and then yeah, PSVR I pre-ordered.
Oh wow,
The
you're
day.
you're you're going right in.
Oh Jesus, you're
Yeah.
getting both headsets. That's crazy.
Well, I plan to only get one. This is the plan, because my Rift isn't set to come until June, because I left it a few more days after uh, the boat was out
All right, so
already.
you're in like the backlog of people, right?
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
have to
yeah,
make some more before you get some.
Well, you've taken the
exactly,
first
yeah.
step though, so you're definitely really interested in it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it intrigues me a lot, and but I don't want to get two. I just want to get the one. But at the moment, it's kind of deciding which. So I'm going to see how the Rift launch goes, because that's only in what's 2 days time, or I guess it's tomorrow for you guys, the 28th. So I see how the games review, and I see how the headset goes in you know pe- people's opinions of it and things like that, and I plan to make my opinion my choice after that.
Just the sheer amount of games that are coming out, like it's hard to judge like which one's going to be like the flagship
Yeah,
sort of VR headset. And I
exactly.
kind of with Pactor on this one, and like Shane, where they said the PSVR is probably going to push ahead with this, just purely because of the price point and the fact that PSVR is half the price of HTC Vive. Or it's a crazy amount of money to like invest into. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting period. I mean, I'm really excited. Like, I'm not going to buy one this year myself, but I'm definitely sitting back with the popcorn. I'm just going to watch to see what happens, because I think like 2017 is probably a better area for me to sort of start thinking about that stuff. How about you, Evan?
I mean, I've never been an early adopter for any type of tech, whether that be, console or VR or anything. So I don't plan on buying a headset this year, and I think I need to see games and I need to see how they review. Um,
Yeah,
if I had the money, of course I'd throw down. I'd be happy to play, basically $20 tech demos or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna sit back and see what happens. But
yeah,
in good console fashion, like you were saying, Vin, I just think Sony is gonna come out on top with
Yeah.
PSVR because it's the easiest thing. Oh, I need a PS4. Okay, I have one of those. What else? Well, I guess you need the camera and the move sticks, kind of. But
yeah. They
still,
got
but
bundles for that
still,
though. Yeah,
it's the easiest thing. So I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say that would
It's
be the first
I think
choice.
it's more to do with the money. I mean, just the fact that Oculus and Vive, they're $600 to $800, and then you've got you need like a 1.5 grand rig to run them. Like, that's debatable. Like, people say, oh no, it's only 1 grand. Then there's other people, no, you want a 2 grand rig to really get the good experience. Like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't even know what it is anymore.
Yeah.
But like, either way, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 just to get into that experience, and it could be like a total fad. Like, we don't know.
I know.
That's what
Yeah.
worries me about it. But how about you, Blake? Like, have you got like any worries that this is like a massive fad? Like, it's just gonna bomb. Like, and it's just
Uh,
like the end of this year, people are gonna be like, "Wow, this is garbage." Like, why did we get excited about this?
well, yeah. I mean, I suppose that's my worst fear. I suppose because obviously I'm optimistic about the technology. I'm optimistic about VR and being, a the next, big thing in games. And I suppose if it was a fad, then it'd be very disappointing. But I mean, the Wii, PS Move and Connect. I mean, they were all. I mean,
Yeah,
I
we've
know the
seen it happen
Wii.
before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know the Wii sold a lot, but I mean, it was still a fad, wasn't it? Really. But I mean, I suppose the big difference. What I think is the big difference with VR is that you're actually in the, in the world, in the game. I mean, I haven't even tried one of these headsets yet.
Oh yeah,
So
that's a good point. Has anyone tried
yeah,
a headset? I haven't.
I've tried Oculus, and I also tried PlayStation VR at Tokyo Game Show. Uh, But the PlayStation VR that I played with, that was like the first ever version that they came out with. This is like back
okay,
in 2014,
yeah,
like that Tokyo Game Show. I played them both. They both feel great. They've definitely got their issues, but
yeah,
they've still got their own, their cons and pros. Like, it's one of them things. It really does depend on the games, because I think VR is definitely going to succeed. I don't know if it's going to succeed in the games industry yet. Like, there's a lot of focus. Like, a lot of people like look at VR and instantly think games at this point, but
yeah,
that could be completely changed at any point. The fact that museums can start like incorporating VR. Like,
exactly,
movie
yeah,
companies can start like publishing them to VR to say, hey, you don't have to go to the movies anymore if you just sit there with a headset on. Like, we can turn your TV into a 60-foot screen or something. It's like you don't have to go to the movies anymore, and you can rent out movies through your VR headset. There's all these different factors that a lot of people aren't really assessing. A lot of people just automatically saying video games, and it could completely fail for that, because
I
people,
know.
like, after a week of playing it, they could like all start throwing up in their living rooms and stuff, like, oh my god, this is
Yeah, you're
impossible to
right.
do.
Well, I think the applications for VR far uh, exceed the realm of games.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, honestly, I think that's the way it's going to go. Like, I don't, like, I'm really skeptical if it is going to work for video games, but I definitely think it's going to survive, quote unquote. Like, I think it would probably flourish, even,
Yeah, it'll be like
like in other areas.
those Atari Jaguar console cases, right? They're used in like the medical field or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Crazy. Like, they use the same chipsets of a PS1 in like a satellite or something
Right.
at
Yeah.
one point. It's crazy. Like, you just don't think about this stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I haven't seen. There's a few on the Oculus side. There's a few VR games that I I really like the look of, like Lucky's Tale, Edge of Nowhere, and Eve Valkyrie. Those are all, I think I mean, maybe they're not AAA, but they're, to me, they look, and
No, it's a
Chronos
start, man.
as
It's a
well. Yeah, I
start.
mean, it's a real, I can see myself spending hours with those games, and I look at PSVR and I think of the VR worlds, what they showed off, and things like Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, and things. I think they're more, to me, they look more Connect kind of experiences, more
Yeah,
casual kind of, an hour kind of, or an hour or two, and then the novelty wears off kind of things. Whereas Oculus seems, to me anyway, to be focusing on the more traditional kind of games, but in this new VR landscape or whatever.
yeah. That is the major worry. I mean, like if the flagship companies don't start pushing out full games and not just like a load of gimmicky demos, then
Exactly.
I think that's where it's gonna flourish. I think that's where it'll do really well. Like if they're just keep making like party games so the family can come around on Christmas
Yeah.
and put on the VR headset and watch, like, so we can all point and laugh at our family members or
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just like if they do that, then it's dead. Like it might sell well at first, but it'll die within a couple of years. For this thing to truly survive, they really need to start pushing full experiences. I
Right.
honestly think this is why
Exactly.
PlayStation VR is probably going to come ahead, because if PlayStation don't come on stage in June and announce No Man's Sky for PlayStation VR, I will be amazed if they don't do that. And I honestly think that's going to be their flagship title, and it's gonna, yeah, it just fits. Like I just don't understand why they wouldn't do that. And if they don't do that, my mind will be blown,
Well, yeah, it's
because
like
that is the
if
perfect game.
not that game, then what? Like you need something to push PlayStation VR, and you can't have these little $20 whatever, what amounts to like a demo. Yeah, get
Yeah.
that game in there, the game that everyone's waiting for.
And like Sean Murray has come out on multiple occasions in interviews and said, this game doesn't take that much processing power. The way that we like procedurally generate worlds, it's really easy calculations. Like it doesn't actually take that much power in the PS4 and stuff like this. It's like, okay, so this game doesn't take that much graphically to run. So
It
why
should
isn't
be
this been announced
possible.
for VR yet?
Yeah.
Like it's totally possible. It's 100% possible, and that's like since it's come out as well that the PlayStation 4 actually has the capability to run these games for VR in full frame rates and all this sort of stuff. Because the little sub box that came with PlayStation VR, like everyone was worried about, like, oh, that's like a processing unit and it's giving the extra power for the PS4 that it needs. But it's
Yeah.
turned out that it's not. It's just like a streaming box.
Yeah, for the for
So
the
Yeah.
it
I
can
saw
for the
that.
TV, right?
exactly. So it's actually all inside the PS4. So that being the case, like the fact that it can run like them sort of game like rigs and stuff like this, like if it can do that, then it can definitely run No Man's Sky. And they would be stupid if they didn't come out on stage.
I hope they do. Yeah. I really hope they do, because that's what I need to see more of. For me, for PSVR at the moment, because I've not seen as much, like longer games, I suppose, or more, traditional kind of game types with PSVR as I have with Rift at the moment. But obviously, if as you said, if they come out with No Man's Sky or something, something amazing. I mean, not Last Guardian VR would be incredibly left field, but I'm not
Yeah. Like
saying that. But
that's the thing about VR as well. I mean, there's a lot of games that won't work in VR. Like I don't. It's not like a medium that can take over every single game in the industry. It's like if you play like a side scroller in VR, like what the hell is that actually
Right.
gonna?
Or
It's not.
like I wouldn't want to play a lot of games in VR.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be interested. I'd rather sit on my sofa and yeah, play Super Mario 3D World or whatever.
No, it's definitely interesting. I mean, just the whole idea of, even if I don't play games in quote unquote VR, like if I've got the headset on and I've now suddenly got a 50-foot screen to play whatever game on, because you can physically do that in VR space, like that's awesome. If like the resolution's high enough and stuff, it's like, oh my god, I'm playing Call of Duty on a
yeah,
fucking cinema screen. This is amazing.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Just having that's pretty cool. Like the whole idea of
I
it. But the
agree. Yeah,
only the only thing that really like deters me away from that experience is the unsocial aspect of it. And I know that like Sony are doing this massive campaign at the minute where they're saying, "Hey, play VR with your family and stuff," and it's
yeah.
just like, these millennials like jumping around on a sofa, like getting all excited for fucking nothing. It's like, oh, just sit down, kids.
Yeah.
But like for me, like I know I'm one of the lucky few, but I play a lot of video games with my fiance next to me, and she just literally watches like a lot of games that I play for the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. I get you.
and to take that away, where I can't just like look at her and be like, "Fucking hell, did you see that? It was amazing." And she goes, "Yeah, man, that was crazy." Like just having that moment taken away is that kind of worries me.
I mean, you could still turn towards her, say, did you see that? No, really. Did
Yeah,
you see
like
that? I can't see if you saw that.
like Ray Charles or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by it. I mean, obviously, it sounds like you are, Blake.
Yeah. I'm very excited by it. I mean, I've always been the kind of, one of the guys that's always been really early in adopting, the new consoles, the new tech,
Yeah, I mean, God bless
things
you
like
guys,
that.
man. I mean, we need you guys.
Yeah.
If we didn't have you, then a lot of these things wouldn't survive.
Oh no, if I was the your average consumer, absolutely not.
Yeah, nothing
Unfortunately.
would be released. Yeah. So yeah, early adopters, we love you. Like we definitely appreciate your service. We could say.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's all
I'm
right. All
excited.
right.
I'm excited by VR. I hope it's going to be decent, but obviously in the back of my mind, I think about the Wii, PS Move, and Connect. But I hope it's going to be
Yeah.
something more. I hope so.
Oh, definitely. Well, we will definitely find out this year. So I think when is PlayStation VR out? Is it October? Did they say?
October, yeah, October.
Okay, so we'll definitely find out. Like, we'll have the whole range of Oculus, HTC Vive, and PlayStation VR so they can hash it out. So we'll definitely
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
by this time next year if it's a massive fad, and if we do, then we'll definitely probably
Exactly.
still
Yeah.
be talking about it.
Yeah, Blake,
We'll
start
definitely
a
still be
start a
talking
thread on Sifted.
Yeah.
about it.
Your
Yeah,
VR thoughts.
indeed. All right, well, let's move on. Let's move on to Evan's topic of this week. Do you want to introduce what you want to talk about, man?
Yeah, so the title of my topic is A Lesson for Zelda, Piss Taker. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just a lesson for Zelda. Zelda for
Okay.
Zelda's sake is what I've
Right.
called it. And so basically I'm about 30 hours into Twilight Princess, HD Wii U, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, how are you finding it? Are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it, but and this might be a bit unfair because it's basically a 10-year-old game with just a facelift, a texture facelift.
Right, it's always hard to like review like a HD remaster, right?
Right. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. And while I do like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker's probably one of my favorite Zelda games, it's, after playing these games, it's just easy to see the series hasn't really evolved that much since the Ocarina of Time. I think we can all agree that it's a bit by the numbers and stale at this point.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something entirely new, something fresh. And I'm not talking about Triforce Heroes. I'd like to see the series evolve in meaningful ways. I want to go into the next Zelda and not quite knowing what to expect. But oh my god, that game is so frustrating. Like I was looking at how that reviewed when it first came out, and even the HD version got like 8.8s, 9s,
Yeah.
some. I mean, when that game came out, it was like the highest rated Zelda ever. Like some people, game trailers said it was one of the greatest games ever created. What else do we have here? Many critics called it the greatest Zelda game. Some people said, who said this? Games Radar said a game that deserves nothing but the absolute highest recommendation.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
there's some stuff in this game that is so frustratingly archaic. I couldn't give it at this point. I couldn't give it more than like an 8.
Right.
It would be impossible for me to give that game more than an 8. And like I played through Wind Waker for the first time. And I should say I'm playing through Ocarina, or not Ocarina. I wish maybe that's what I want to play. I'm playing through Twilight Princess for the first time ever. I never owned a GameCube. I only owned a Wii, barely. But yeah, I played through Wind Waker HD last year, also for the first time, and that game's really, really good. But it just some of the stuff in these games, like it hasn't changed since Ocarina, and
Yeah,
I just think you see all these accolades and this praise for Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, and then Skyward Sword. A lot of people disagreed with that, but didn't GameSpot give that game like a 10?
yeah, I do remember that
Something
being pretty
crazy,
high.
yeah.
How quickly did people fall? Kind of do a 180 and like, well, wait a minute, no, that game wasn't very good. And I think that's just part of the problem. Like, fans are fans, right? And I just don't think, like, you can be a Zelda fan, that's fine. I'm a Zelda fan as well, but I just don't think some fans are critical enough to offer more insight or more insight more than like, oh, it's a Zelda game, so
Right, like that's the weird thing when it comes to like a well established game like this. It kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy as well. Like when they do change stuff, it's sort of like a lot of people were complaining about Final Fantasy X, like not having a world map, and there's a lot of these little systems that just sort of fade away.
right.
But at the same time, if we were still playing like turn-based JRPGs, just in like HD graphics, like no one talking, the world map, all right, get in the airship, all right, let's fucking do this again. All right, you hit, okay, I hit. It's just like this constant repeat. Like if you did that for 15 games, like everyone would hate it roundabout now. Yeah, I mean, for me, Zelda is just every. I mean, I love Zelda. I've been loving Zelda for years, but it sort of feels that every Zelda game that comes out is basically like a remake of the previous Zelda. It feels like sometimes.
Exactly, yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, even A Link Between Worlds, which was reviewed very well and held in very high regard. The
Yeah,
actual title in Japanese, so A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in Japanese, if you translate it, is A Legend of Zelda and the Triforce of the Gods.
right.
And actually, A Link Between Worlds is called A Legend of Zelda and the Triforce of the Gods 2.
Yeah, it's a direct sequel.
Yeah. So I'm playing through this game and I'm just like, well, there's some really good things in here, but I just think they're keeping elements of previous Zelda games, especially Ocarina of Time, which I think is ridiculous that Link still can't jump. So I'm looking at this game and I'm just thinking like, it's so stale.
Right.
It didn't change in Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, or even Skyward Sword, for the 3D Zeldas. And so what I kind of wanted to talk about is like, yeah, what I said, a lesson for Zelda. So first, like what makes a Zelda game? Like what does a Zelda game need to keep to maintain its Zelda-ness? I mean,
Yeah,
what do
it's
you
a
guys
tough one.
think?
I don't know. I suppose I got a bit of a mixed history with Zelda, and probably going further back, I got a bit of a mixed history with Nintendo. Really, I mean, I didn't even know Nintendo existed until the N64. I know it's mad, but I was brought up on Sega, and I just didn't even know that there was other consoles. Being a kid, I didn't even know there was other consoles out there until N64. And
Yeah.
obviously, I played Ocarina of Time, and I finished it. I've actually finished it with a friend. We used to take turns. Every time we used to die, he pass the controller to him. He used to have a go, and then vice versa until we eventually finished it. And I loved Ocarina of Time. It's one of my probably in my top 10 games of all time. But since then, I've played every Zelda game, and I've constantly been trying to feel the way I did about Ocarina of Time in those games, and it just has never worked. I mean,
Because you're
I don't
playing the
know.
same game over, Like I don't think the series has evolved much since, in terms of 3D Zelda since Ocarina. And yeah, just like some stuff it seems like they feel they need to keep in that I don't.
Yeah, it's like the creators think that all this stuff that they keep re-putting into it is what makes it Zelda. And I don't think that's strictly the case. Like for me, I don't really feel that. There's a lot of stuff that they do keep putting in, like the same type of combat and just the way like Link moves and stuff. I don't think that makes a Zelda, you know?
Oh no, not
Like
at all. It's so forgettable. Like
yeah, and it's just like they do need to change that. They need to change like how the combat works for one, because that just it's like okay, this has been the same since Ocarina of Time. Like I get it. Like it's old, man. Like N64, like combat system on like probably I don't know if the next one's going to be the same. It looks very different, but like on like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker and stuff like this, it's like, oh Jesus Christ! Like, how is this still in here? Like, how are you
I
still
know.
doing this? It's
I
like,
know.
can you
It's,
imagine if every single RPG still had like an ATB system?
I
Like,
know.
holy shit! Like that would be
Yeah.
boring as hell. No one will play JRPGs,
Imagine if
or maybe
Skyrim
a
was
few. But
still controlled like Morrowind. It'd
oh
just be
Jesus
insane.
Christ!
Yeah, and it is insane. Like I'm playing Twilight Princess. It's like Z target, a bit of strafing left and right. So like what can Link do? He can kind of attack forward. He has the jump and slash down attack. He has the roll around the enemy and then kind of do this like Hadoken with his sword, right? And that's about it. Like when I talk to people about Zelda games are not difficult games, right?
Yeah,
So you can just kind of mash on the button and defeat any enemy. And so like combat has never been a series strong point. It's the focus is more on like using specific weapons for specific enemies or figuring out how to take down a boss using a specific weapon, right? But I think like why not make combat the strong point? And I don't mean motion controls, right? They're just like looking in the wrong
I
areas of how
know.
to improve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like so I was thinking like, well, what kind of combat could they look for? And like, well, what about like Dark Souls, right? Like,
right.
and I'm not saying the difficulty or one slash from a boss and you're dead. I'm talking about
Yeah, just like the actual mechanics of like
right,
how the character moves
or
and
look
how you
at
can react and
exactly, or look at Bloodborne more so because that's more a little bit more about
a bit more
movement.
fast paced.
Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
give them decent movement? And I'm not saying it has to be like a hack and slash. Like Devil May Cry or something, but give him some combat options. Give him a couple combos. Why couldn't you have him like in DMC? You have the angel. I think it's called angel mode or in death or no, not death mode, devil mode. So if you hold down the angel trigger, your weapon will turn into a different weapon. Uh, like I don't remember what it is. And then if you hold on the devil mode, it'll turn into a different weapon, and each weapon does different things. And what you can do is
Right.
you can use your regular sword, and then mid combo, change it to the angel mode, then go devil mode, and you can chain all this stuff together. And why couldn't you do something like that with some of the weapons? Like Link does an upward slash, and then pulls his bow out, and then throws a couple arrows up in the air to. And it doesn't have to be this combo sort of game, but I just think that they could have expand the combat, and it's insane to me that it basically hasn't changed since Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when it comes to Zelda, I think you can change a lot of stuff. You can change the combat. You can change, the story. You can even take like the green outfit off Link. Like don't kill me, Zelda fans. But like the main thing which should probably always be prevalent and which is probably what makes a Zelda game for me is like the dungeons and the puzzles. Like just the
Absolutely.
whole like going through and figuring stuff out like in a
Yeah,
dungeon and like finding the item like da 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 and stuff like
yeah.
that is
No,
what makes it Zelda for me.
I know.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a
It
great feeling. Yeah,
it is the highlight of the entire series. The dungeons make
Exactly.
those
So
games.
you can strip absolutely everything else out. You can take like as long as like this kid, boy, young man, whatever is like
whatever he
going
is.
to save the princess. I know, right? It changes from game to game.
Yeah.
He's going to save Princess Zelda and he's going through dungeons and he's using like interesting gadgets and equipment to do it. Then that's all that really matters. Everything else outside of that is completely open.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're trying to get at, right, Evan? It's like that frustration of like they don't experiment with that other stuff
I
enough,
know.
and it's just it feels like this monotonous sort of chug going through it. And it's like, okay, it's this. Oh, we're doing this again. Oh, okay, I've definitely seen this puzzle in the last game somewhere else, like in
Exactly.
2D but not 3D. And it's just like, oh my god, again,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things as well. Like you go into a dungeon, and okay, in this dungeon, it's going to be the bow, it's going to be the boomerang, or
Yeah.
it's going to be
Exactly.
bombs, right, or something like that. And then you find it, and then you get the boss key, and then you know that okay, this is the bow dungeon. Basically, I need the bow to defeat the boss, and then so no, you need the bow to expose the weak point, And once you expose the weak point, you hammer on it, and like clockwork, you're going to have to do it 3 times to defeat the boss. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why does that have to be a mainstay of the series?
I don't think it's evolved really. I mean, I completely agree. Since Ocarina of Time, I mean, Majora's Mask, I respect in some ways, in a lot of ways, because it's a departure, because it had all the different links and the different, Link transforming into, the Zoros or
The whole
Deku.
like transformation mask
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
exactly.
that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah, I mean, they tried something. I mean, and it's quite a dark. That world is quite a dark world. It's like a not Hyrule, but kind of an inverse Hyrule. But then with Twilight, with the Wind Waker, I mean, they took chances there with the art style, but the gameplay was very similar. It's not, the gameplay was so similar. And then Twilight Princess is basically, well, for me anyway, it's just basically Ocarina of Time 2. It's not, I know it's got darker elements and, it's got the Wolf Link or,
Yeah, I just that
whatever, but it's just not, I don't know, it's just, I just didn't ever get more than 5-6 hours in, and then I just ended up throwing in the towel. I mean, the tutorials are usually far too long for me as well.
well,
It
yeah,
just
they
takes
need
so
to
long
get
to
rid
get.
of that. They need to change
I
that
know,
as well.
it's
Like,
crazy.
we can figure it out. And well, how do you guys feel about, like, I think Vin made the most interest, like the main point about this is keep the dungeons, right? And the puzzles, like,
Yeah.
and figure out how to, well, it's always going to shine in a Zelda game, right? But everything else is basically open, and it doesn't look like this Zelda U, or whatever you want to call it, is going to have a gimmick. And I hope it doesn't. Like, I'm talking world dichotomy, right? Light world, dark world, high rule, low rule, or any sort of like Link changing forms thing, like the Minish Cap, Link's big, Link's small. Twilight Princess, he turns into a wolf, which is the stupidest thing.
Exactly.
I hate the wolf sections in that game are
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
bad. Like, I sometimes I just stop playing. Or like, yeah, he's a boy, he's a man, like all that type of stuff. I don't. I think they just focus, or like he's on a train, he's on a boat. Uh, that's something I don't think that they. It seems like they've always focused on that since A Link to the Past, and I just think they really need to get away from some of this stuff if they want to make, because you're going to please the fans no matter what, right? But I just look at Twilight Princess, and it could be more, right? Like, this game could be so much more.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, you look at the new Zelda that's coming out, which has not been titled yet, but the one that's coming out on Wii U and probably the NX, and just the sheer amount of stuff that they've changed in that. I mean, it looks great. It looks way for the better as well. The fact that it's open world, you can jump in it and stuff like this, and like just seeing how fans have reacted to that really positively. It blows my mind that they never did this sooner. It's just like, okay, like the fans are gonna love it anyway. So like, why is it taking so long for you to change this? Like the whole Wii period of like Zelda just was stagnant for me. Like
Yeah,
to this day,
same.
like I never bought a Wii at all. I didn't actually buy one in the end. I've played the games, but I never bought a Wii.
Yeah,
Um,
the whole motion
yeah,
thing was not a good idea. I don't.
yeah, and every person I've talked to, they're like, oh yeah, Zelda hasn't really been the same since like Wind Waker, and like before Wind Waker, it hadn't really been the same since Ocarina of Time, and before that, it wasn't the same since. It's like Zelda's got like 3 or 4 games that really hold it up, and everything else in between, the fans are just buying and saying it's amazing still. But it's things do definitely need to change. I'm really excited to see what they do with the Wii U, because obviously we are fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're not just smashing down on Zelda because
Hmm.
we hate Zelda or anything. We love Zelda.
No.
We want to see it do better. We
Yeah.
want to see it
Exactly.
be
I
updated
agree.
for the
Yeah.
current day.
I just
So yeah,
I hope
it's
the
definitely
world
interesting.
traversal stuff is fun as well. I
Yeah,
I
I
I, I
mean,
just
and we need to see more as well.
yeah, but it is a bit it's refreshing to see that it does really look like they're trying to take it into
Yeah,
new direction. I guess at this point, all we do know is that it's open world, but I do like that. I think that they kind of realize that it has been stale for a little bit, and I think Skyward Sword kind of was the catalyst, maybe, that made them think like we need to figure this out. This whole 3D Zelda stuff it's this basically the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate point we're trying to get to, right? We just don't want to go through the notions again. Like, we want to see the series sort of change for the better now. You know, it needs to be updated. It needs to be a bit more contemporary.
One thing I don't think necessarily needs to be updated is the PS4 hardware.
Yeah, speaking of which,
I'm sorry.
But yeah, speaking of which, we should definitely move on. Move on to the last topic, which is my topic. And as Evan covertly segued into,
yeah,
I actually
yeah,
want
it
to
was
talk
a very
about.
nice segue. Yeah,
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about the PS4K, which has been heavily rumored over the last couple of weeks, and just sort of get people's takes on it, because last week Kotaku actually leaked, quote unquote. They actually reported on it, saying that there's a number of developers talking to them and telling them that Sony is sort of spreading the word that they're bringing out another PlayStation 4. It's going to be an updated version, and they don't know if it's going to be hardware based or if it's going to be a whole new system and all this sort of stuff. So I think a lot of people are discussing it and worrying about it, but at the same time, a lot of people are excited about it because it's rumored to be in 4K graphics, which is a huge jump. It's a huge jump. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, it's just the next step up, right? But PC gaming isn't really at 4K yet. And the fact that consoles are talking about making that jump already, it's a pretty huge deal. So I sort of wanted to get people's takes on it. And, first, I'll ask you first, Blake, like, are you actually excited about a PS4K, or do you think it's too early?
I don't know. I think this current console generation is underpowered compared to previous generations. For when they
Right.
came out, I think PCs were already 3-4 years ahead in terms of technology. And this is. I don't know. We don't know what this is, do we? If it's just for 4K films, to play 4K films, or I don't know. If it's for 4K gaming, if Sony can somehow make it so it's 4K 30 FPS every game, then for I don't know £500, $700, then I suppose it could be. I can't see it selling, but it could be good for it could be appetizing, it could be promising, but I just don't know. It all depends on the price, really. If it's at like $700, $600 or whatever, then I just can't see it selling. Also, I think they're going to split their consumer base. I just don't see
well, yeah.
people are going to
it
think.
depends on what it does, right?
Yeah, this is the main thing that I'm sort of thinking about. Like, if they do bring this out, it would be absolute suicide. I mean, absolute suicide if they split their consumer base.
Yeah,
Which
way
I
to
don't think
support
they're
the
going to
people
do.
that bought a PlayStation 4 day one.
Exactly. But like, this is the reason why I don't think it is that, because it's called, well, it's been rumored to be called the PS4 0.5 or the PS4K. And if this was splitting the consumer base in half, and it actually went to a whole new generation, like all the games coming out for the PS4K isn't coming out for the PS4, that's a new console. Why don't you just call it the PS5?
Yeah, I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would. They're on top right now. Why ruin that good faith?
Right. So I don't think they're going to split the consumer base whatsoever. I honestly think that if this is like a graphical upgrade, I honestly think that they're still going to tell every single developer, hey, develop for the PS4, and then when it comes over to the PS4K, it'll just be an up-res graphics, or the FPS will be higher. I honestly don't think there's going to be any quote unquote PS4K exclusive games out there. Because we saw what happened. We saw what happened with Nintendo recently with the new 3DS.
Right.
And it's like, how many games came out for that? Three games altogether.
And then you have to you have to be specific about what's for the new 3DS, what works with both. It's like it's
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a total mess. I honestly think Sony are way ahead in like not doing that.
I
I
hope
mean,
so.
just how they reacted to the whole. Yeah, I mean, how they reacted to the whole Microsoft thing. They're very much listening to consumer. I'm not saying they're consumer savvy or anything, but they definitely listen at the mass crowd. And if a lot of people say, "Hey, if you split the market, this is going to suck."
well,
So
yeah, and the whole point about the console is the ease of plug and play. Like, okay, I bought my PS4. I'm set for the next 8 to 10 years.
yeah.
It's like I that why like I do have the disposable income to purchase a console or two, but I play on console for the whole reason that I don't want to deal with like upgrading a PC. So if Microsoft is going to you know add things
start
to,
tacking on bits to it. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's the Sega Mega Drive or the Genesis, and then if PlayStation did
Yeah.
this, if PlayStation did the same, well, guess what? I'm just going to buy a PC then. Like, why bother?
yeah.
Yeah. I
You
know
just make the switch,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Ease of use. I mean, that's why I do play on consoles, and I
Yeah.
don't. And yeah,
That makes
that's
sense.
the reason why I don't think they would do that.
right, I do. Best case scenario for me, I don't think it's going to be like tacked on bits. Like you opening up your PS4 and you add in like GRAM and all this sort of shit. Like I don't think it's ever going to be anything like that. Like best case scenario for me, like it is a new console that's coming out. It's called the PS4K, and it plays every single game that you've got on the PS4 on this thing, and vice versa. Like there's no exclusives for it. It just upreses all your games and runs them at 60 frames per second. That is the best case scenario for me.
I hope so.
Like if they do that, I honestly think it's definitely going to market. Like it's the exact same thing as what Microsoft have done with their controller. You know, like they've got their normal standard controller for the Xbox One,
We
but
got
now
the
you can buy
elite.
an elite
Yeah.
controller, and like it's like 3 times as expensive as the normal controller, but it's got a huge market. Like a lot of people are buying it.
Right.
It plays all the same games. That model right there is perfect for the PS4K, and if they do that, like I definitely think there's going to be a market for this thing.
Well,
Like,
especially for me, I don't have a PS4 yet, so
yeah, exactly. So if people haven't made the jump yet, like that's a perfect one to jump into.
yeah, like E3, if they say, all right, yeah, PS4K, $400, I mean, I think they'd want to hit that price point, right?
Yeah, they'd drop. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd drop
It
the
couldn't
price
be
of the
any higher
PS4,
than
and
that.
then
Yeah.
No. So I mean, but if that's the case, and like, yep, sign me up. I don't have one yet. I'll get this one. So there is a
yeah,
market for it. There are people out there that don't have a PS4 yet, but
yeah, it's an interesting thing, Gavin. I mean, if Sony did come out at E3 and said, okay, PS4K is $400, or you can buy a PS4 normal like vanilla for $200, which one would you pick up?
I'd get the 4K.
Right. See, that's the sort of that's the sort of discussion which is interesting to me. Like how
It would be like me buying like a 40-inch TV or a 50-inch. If I bought the 40-inch, I'd like constantly be thinking about that 50-inch TV I could have bought with the extra money.
But speaking of that, what for you, Evan? Like, what chances do you think this is actually going to happen this E3?
Oh, this? Oh, I don't know.
Like to even talk about it, to not announce it, not to like bring it out, but to even talk about it.
I think they have to at this point. Got to do some damage control. I don't know if
Right.
it was in the presentation, but I think they kind of have to put it in now.
Right. How about you, Blake? What do you think?
Yeah. I hope they don't announce it at E3. I hope it's maybe TGS or if they do Paris Games Week again this year. I hope it's later in the year because I just think E3 is just too soon. I just think it's too soon. TGS or Paris Games Week early or spring 2017 release date. If they're gonna do it, then it will be better than Christmas autumn 2016 for me anyway. I think that would be a better. I mean, I don't know. No
Well,
marketing
Yeah.
expert or anything, but
do you think they want to put this out in line with the PSVR though? Do you think they want to strike while the iron's hot? I don't know.
yeah, I mean, that's a big question, isn't it? This process. Well, I suppose it's not a processing box, but this box they're putting out for the PSVR must mean that they can run it on the bog standard PS4. So I mean, PSVR should be okay on the standard PS4. You would have thought, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, if some PSVR games, like say that Eve Valkyrie, some of the more graphics intensive PSVR games play on the PS4K better, then people are gonna want that, aren't they?
I think people would be pissed if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But this is, for me, for my current thinking, I don't think this is anywhere near getting announced this E3. I think this is like 3 years out. Like, all seriousness, I don't think that this is anytime soon, because they've only just, like, the fact that these leaks are on just coming out now, they're only just started talking to developers about it. Like, there's no, like, all the games that are going to come out in the next 2 years aren't teched for it yet, you know? Like, if they're only just talking about it now, like, this thing is at least 2-3 years away.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think 4K gaming just isn't. I don't think consumers are ready for it yet. Like a lot of people.
What do you mean?
In regards to like 4K TVs, I don't think they're cheap enough yet. There's a lot of people out there that don't even have any interest in 4K TVs.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
There's people on. Like, I was talking to someone on Sifted, and they said, "Well, I haven't got a 4K TV," but the counter argument to that is saying, the only reason why you would buy a 4K TV is so you can use this thing. It's not the other way around. I mean, I remember when I bought an Xbox 360, and I was playing that in standard def for 2 years before I ever upgraded.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I didn't have a HD TV for 2 years, but when I did make the switch, I made it because I had an Xbox 360. It wasn't the other way around, and I think PlayStation's going to be the same. So,
I mean,
I just don't think people are ready for 4K yet as well.
Yeah.
Like, developer-wise.
Yeah, I just bought a TV too.
Oh, God.
Right.
And it's not 4K.
Oh, God. Well,
I think it's still a few years out yet. I think
you're probably right.
I think PlayStation are doing the right thing though by preparing for this jump, because PC market right now they're basically they're teetering over the edge. Like, they're really close to 4K right now. I know they're on like
1440p.
Yeah, sorry, fucking hell, numbers. Yeah, they're on 1440p right now, and that's pretty much the standard for PC gamers right now.
Yeah, I can do that on my PC at the moment, 40p. But I stick to 1080 for the frame rate,
right?
Yeah.
And I think in like 3 years' time or something, though, it's just going to keep going and going and going, and people are going to be hitting, like, on average, like, the average PC gamer is going to be 4K, 30 frames per second. And at that point, that's when PlayStation or the console manufacturers in general just need to start ramping up. Because if the PlayStation 4 is out for another 6 years, which is what its lifespan is predicted to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, in 6 years' time, it's going to be super dated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was dated the day it came out. I mean, PCs, as I said earlier, PCs were already way ahead of it in terms of, the 360 when it came out was probably on par with high-end PCs and the PS3, last gen. And then, this gen, they were already, probably with 2-3 years behind the tech. So, it worries me about, the consoles. It worries. That's why I got a gaming PC in 2020, late 2014, because I was just so disillusioned with the consoles. So I was quite disappointed with them, and I don't
probably made the right choice.
I think the counter argument to all that though is like, you can optimize for a console a lot better than you can for a PC. Like, you'd be amazed how much an OS actually drains out of your processing power, like on a PC.
Yeah.
But on a console, it doesn't do that as much. If you look at games like Uncharted 4, I don't think I've seen a game that good on PC, Like I've seen games that run at a higher resolution or a higher frame rate, but I've never seen a game that looks that good. And for a console that's like quote unquote like way below the sort of graphical capabilities of a 4K ready PC right now, it's sort of like what? Well, yeah, I mean, I know like the graphics are a lot lower on the PS4, but I honestly think
Uncharted 4
developers are
is
just
impressive.
learning.
Yeah,
They're only just starting to tap into like that power. The fact that we jumped from 512 like RAM to 8 gig is crazy. That amount of power that they have at their disposal, and they're still learning how to use that properly.
Right. Just have on the tail end of the PlayStation 4's life, just have Naughty Dog make all the games.
Yeah. Because I mean, look at the first PS3 games that came out compared to the last series.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy, isn't it?
It's night and day.
You're right. You are right.
And the same thing's going to happen with the PS4.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of games at Star Citizen are already. I mean, they look insane. I mean, they do look better than Uncharted 4 in my mind. But I mean, maybe not the AI. I mean, the AI in Uncharted 4 looks incredible. So maybe it's not. The AI. I don't expect the AI in the single player Squadron 42 portion of Star Citizen to be as good as Uncharted 4's AI. I mean, I think that's what they concentrated on, Naughty Dog, and I respect Naughty Dog an awful lot. But I think for looks wise, I think Star Citizen can't really be rivaled at the moment. But then you need an expensive PC. I mean, I'm lucky.
Exactly.
I've got a £1,400, $2,200 PC or something that I bought in 2014. It's probably outdated now, actually. But yeah, at the time, I mean, it's got a GTX 970 in it, and then i7 4790K, and 16 gigs of RAM, and it can play everything.
That's the sort of thing, though. I mean, when you look at this stuff,
it's the money, isn't it?
A lot of people talk about PCs like they talk about sports cars. Like, oh, I've got this amazing sports car, like it's the fastest thing in the world. It goes like 400 miles an hour, and you're like, oh, okay, let's go out on the road and run it. And it's just like you're playing these indie games on it. And it's like, are you fucking serious? Like but I kind of feel like graphics and stuff, like you are as slow as your slowest person, like games that are being made for PC 9 times out of 10, they're also being developed for the consoles. So yeah, the sort of running hand in hand in the same race, so like as much as one is ahead, it'll be very easily switched over. So I'm definitely interested in the PS4K. I mean, I think it's way too early. I don't think this thing is coming out for at least 3 years. This is like a 2020 thing.
I hope so.
Like this is
maybe they were just
years away.
testing the waters a bit, like the bunch of a GDC. They're waiting in line and kind of look over their shoulder, like, oh, there's Patrick Klepek. Hey guys, so
give a story.
About the PS4K, huh?
I've got a scoop for you.
Yeah, I just think it's far too early. Like, I mean, they're talking about holiday, Christmas 2016, autumn 2016. I just think that's so soon. I mean, as you said, 3 years time.
I just don't think it'll happen.
We'll be fine, but
it's way too early.
No, I'm interested, yeah, but if it doesn't come out this year, I can't wait any longer, because Uncharted 4 and the Last Guardian. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Last Guardian.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind.
It's been so long, you've forgotten the name.
Yeah. The Lost Guardian.
It's been for a long time.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean,
I bet that's an article title somewhere. The Lost Guardian.
Yes. No.
The year is now, Evan. You need to buy a PS4.
Yeah. So regardless, I'm getting one anyways. So yeah, whatever. I'll just same with VR. Just kind of sit back and see what happens with this PS4K.
Yeah, eat the popcorn. We're actually going to move on now into our content callouts. So every week we basically each pick a piece of content off the Sifted website, and we talk about it for a couple months and see like if there's any cool articles that we've read, any editorials, any shows that we've been watching, podcasts, and all that sort of stuff. So in traditional sense, we're going to start off with our guest. So Blake, what is your content call out of the week?
My content caller is Eurogamer's What's Development Actually Like? It was a interview with Lorne Lanning at GDC, the Oddworld Inhabitants. I don't know what he is, director, I suppose.
Yeah, he's creative director or something.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting. The guy that does the interview, Chris Bratt. I followed him for on the internet for quite a few years. He used to be a video gamer, and I used to watch those guys a lot for a few years. And he moved over to Eurogamer, and I still follow it. I thought it was a great interview. He says to Lorne about what actually goes on with games development, and is it actually fun or whatever. And Lorne Lanning is basically like, no, it's awful. Like, you never want to do this. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. So it's brutally honest, and it's a really good watch. I think I would highly recommend it.
I'll have to check it out.
But anyway, it's definitely worth a watch. It's very interesting. I thought it's about 6 minutes, not too long. 7 minute interview, so it's not too long, but it's very interesting for me anyway.
Cool. How about you, Evan? What is your content call out of the week?
My content call out of the week is the GI show, the Game Informer show, the inside story of recording Metal Gear Solid. So the GI guys compiled a bunch of interviews through Skype, and they kind of put them all together in one video. It's about an hour long. And they just talked to a bunch of the voice actors, including David Hayter, of course, the voice of Solid Snake, and also the
one and only.
The one and only, that's right. Yeah, the one and only. Yeah, I didn't get that when you said that the first time. And also the voice casting director and producer. And then a couple other voices like Revolver Ocelot, Otacon, Meryl. And it's just very interesting. If you're interested in Metal Gear, it's an interesting look behind like what they thought about the game. Like, obviously they didn't really know much about it, and it kind of blew up afterwards, and they kind of talk about before and after the game came out. And then at the end, which I'm sure the Game Informer was waiting for, they kind of asked him a question about how he felt about being dropped from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, and I haven't seen this.
And
so don't worry.
No, he took the bait. I think he couldn't help himself to express how he felt about the situation. So it's at the tail end of the video. I think the whole video is worth the hour, but if you want to fast forward to like the 45-minute mark and listen from there, nice little bit of information from David Hayter himself on how he felt about it. So very cool.
Check that out. I haven't actually watched it, so
I haven't watched that either. I definitely
give it a watch. Definitely. What about you, Vin?
My content call out for this week was actually the whole series that Naughty Dog have been putting out for Uncharted 4 in the run-up to Uncharted 4's release. And it's just like the making of series, And I really enjoy these little videos that Naughty Dog have always done. But this one, it really shows like the maturity of the team and how they've sort of grown from being, like that young PS3 developer that they once were, all the way up until now, like from the start of Drake's sort of venture to the last bit of it. It's really interesting to see like how they've grown and like how they talk about it. And even in one of their videos, they were actually expressing like how they've aged with Drake. And it's a really nice sort of, bookend to the series. And you can definitely tell this is probably going to be the last Uncharted game. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of them nice sort of like game developer sort of videos, which, behind the curtain sort of thing. So everyone should definitely check that out if they're interested in Uncharted 4. But yeah, other than that, we are coming to the end of the show. Wanted to say a huge thank you to you, Blake, for coming to join us onto the show today.
Thanks, man. That's all right. Yeah, pleased to be here and record. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. But yeah, we should probably wrap up with Twitter handles and stuff like this. So, Blake, have you got a Twitter handle?
Yeah, it's at tblake7.
Cool. And you're also known as the Disturbed Swan on Sifted, right?
Yeah, Disturbed Swan, yeah.
You're a moderator on there, right?
Yeah, moderator, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so be nice to him, otherwise you'll ban your ass. How about you, Evan? What is your Twitter call out on your sort of sign off?
I'm the Stand User on Twitter, Sifted, and Giant Bomb.
Okay, and I am on Twitter. I am at VinHillArt. You can find some of my finger paintings on there as always. On Sifted and pretty much everywhere else, I am VinHill. So yeah, come and say hi. If you do want to be on the show like Blake has done, make sure you message either me or Evan on Sifted, and it has to be through Sifted, and just basically give out your information about what microphone you have and when you're available, and we'll definitely get back to you and we'll add you onto the list and we'll try and get you onto the show, because we always love having people from the community on the show.
Definitely.
Really cool. So other than that, let's say thank you, and we will definitely catch you guys in the next one. So we will be back next week, probably next Monday, and we have a very special guest next week, so make sure you stay tuned. So thanks a lot, guys, and we will catch you next time.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.